Ashish, did you know memory foam was made for astronauts?
Yeah, I did the research too.
Damn.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So here we are on episode 19 of the Canada Beach podcast. And today we're going to talk to you about the space obsession. So, Stylish, where do we start? Beyond the memory foam factoid.
Yeah. I mean, so we're gonna have a you have separate discussion, right? You have a separate perspective about the space, and I have a separate perspective. First, me, I think it's gonna be the next frontier, in for
Hmm?
the investors, and it's gonna be the next frontier for war. Like countries gonna start fighting wars in space, and we're gonna discuss a few parts about it, how it's gonna happen. But investor wise, I think it's the place where new innovation is going to come in. Like if you look at it, first we just spoke about the memory foam. Certain new inventions happened
So
from
what we're
space tech.
saying is, with respect to space, we've got two things. Countries go into space for defense
Mm,
and for innovation. And
yeah,
I would add to that by also saying general exploration, because we want to know more about the world, the universe that we live in.
yeah.
All right, so let's start with the innovations. What innovations have carried forward? And to give you a quick preamble, there is the whole, like, why was Formula One cool? Why did people invest in Formula One? It wasn't just a marketing gimmick. Uh, Beyond marketing, there was also how innovations that were made in Formula One, like when Ferrari came up with the paddle shifters. That was something that was brought on to on-road commercial not commercial, like consumer grade. I don't know what to say. It's civilian grade vehicles. Like our everyday vehicles have paddle shifts now. Um, Automatic suspension was something that was built for Formula One. Ironically, is no longer used in Formula One, but has made its way to the streets. So similarly, with respect to innovation, that's helped countries explore space. Those innovations have eventually trickled down. Stylish, beyond memory foam, what comes to mind?
So what comes to mind is first Internet of Things. So Internet of Things, like how they have the thermostats which are connected to the internet, everything which is connected to you have irrigation systems which are connected to internet. They all started with NASA connecting their astronauts using Wi-Fi. Like their suits were connected to, like the base internet, and the internet was controlling these and monitoring these suits. So Internet of Things was originated from NASA research, which trickled down into civilian space. So
Can
now
I
we have.
clarify that a little bit? The internet as a concept is just how one, like, you have a conversation across, like it's an exchange of information. So there
Mm,
are if then triggers. Like if something happens, then you can affect, or you can bring out an effect, and that is a very dumbed down version of how Internet of Things works. But please go ahead.
yeah, it's both. Internet of Things is basically you send a signal and you have a feedback and you actually checking if everything's working right. The same thing with irrigation systems, right? So you have drip irrigation systems, which is controlled by you can control it with your phone. It's able to happen because of internet right now. So you can literally sit here and start irrigating your agricultural field from here. That's another Internet of Things. Another major tool was Dustbuster. Like you can vacuum your car with that little vacuum cleaner, which has the handle, and you can vacuum your car. That originated for drilling. They wanted to drill moon rock, and once they drilled in, they were looking for to collect the moon rock deep inside the drill. So that was the idea which actually created Dustbuster. So there are many
Cordless
innovative
technologies as
tools.
well.
Yeah, these are all new technologies which started. in space exploration. Like this is the era which is actually going to take off and create new technologies. These are a few examples we're just talking about.
Right. So there are other examples that we could cite, like tracking eyes, like the laser that is used to track your eyes when you're getting a LASIK surgery done. Scratch resistant lenses that came up from wanting to make sure that astronaut visors aren't damaged. Photovoltaic cells, like India recently launched a mission to the sun through Aditya, I think was what the satellite was called, the probe. Yeah. So that's going to make use of photovoltaic cells to make sure that it continues to get solar energy, and harnesses solar energy. Water filtration was another thing that was used. The smartphone cameras, MRIs, CAT scans. There are a bunch of innovations that have come from our exploration of space.
Yeah, our need to explore space. Was one of the biggest things was GoPros. GoPro was designed by a NASA scientist.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. So beyond innovations, you mentioned defense. What is the defense hazard?
So if you look at it, every country. So after first it was Trump. Trump actually created Space Force. So when he created it, everybody was like, it's completely useless. What is the reason? But then post that happened, China and Russia did the same. They have their own respective space forces. The reason major reason for this is, let's say you have your own satellite as a country, and as Russia comes in and just blows up your satellite, your entire communication system is down. So in the middle of war, if you can take down a satellite, that's a big deal. Russia actually did this. Russia had like a used old satellite which was lying down, and they shot it down with pinpoint accuracy. So that was another major thing, which it's a provocation of war. It shows that you're able to blow up another country's satellite in the middle of war, which is basically that's what happened, right? Ukraine, the entire satellite system went down, and Elon Musk had to come up and said, I'm going to put up the entire Starlinks for you. So that actually helped Ukraine sustain the war till now. They would have crumpled if Starlink doesn't exist.
Absolutely, like no communication, no TikToks, educating the West about. I mean, Ukraine also leveraged fake news, right? That the one Phantom of Kiev, I think, was what they created.
Yeah.
They've leveraged social media and to good effect, because they've managed to rally Western support specifically to aid in the war effort against Russia.
Another thing about the war perspective is China. I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. They actually launched a hypersonic missile, and which actually glided all over the world and came back. And the American systems, the Pentagon, nobody could detect it. The only way they found out was when China said they did it, and they had these data and entire thing posted online. That's when they got jolted and they started doing the hypersonic research. Now almost every country is doing it. China is the lead in it. Now Russia, America, India also has a hypersonic missile program.
Right. So what can countries do to combat this? Beyond all rushing to space, there are 4 countries that have made it to the moon, right? Like China, Russia, the US, and now India. You have the Artemis Accord that Donald Trump had signed. I believe he launched it.
I believe so. Japan is also on. Japan is doing the Moon Sniper program right now.
Oh, what is that? What is that?
It's another, moon exploration by Japan. Another country actually shooting for moon.
Okay, Artemis start date December 2017.
Yeah.
So
So
within Trump's reign,
mm.
that's funny. Like I wouldn't have imagined him to be so focused on, and that just could be my lack of knowledge. But I wouldn't have imagined him to be so oriented towards
No,
space.
no, he started Space Force. He was very forward thinking about Space Force, and everybody made fun of him for that. But he had that vision to look forward about Space Force. He knew the next. See, if you look at the history, right? So previously, back in the day, how did we fight wars? Mostly on land. Large group of armies fighting, and whoever had the bigger army had an advantage. So after that happened, you have the British, which actually
The
were
naval
able to conquer the
naval
world.
supremacy.
Naval supremacy. So even now you have
World
the
War
naval.
II,
America holds the
Luftwaffe.
naval supremacy because you have what 8 or 9 aircraft carriers, so they can send a fleet, 2 or 3 fleets wherever they want, and they won't be affected at all. So that's naval supremacy. But then the next one comes up is air supremacy. So if you want eyes in the air, you sending your army in, you're gonna have air support. Without air support, nobody fights. Even America, needs 100% of air support for them, for their army and artillery to move in.
There was this
So
Hindi
that is
movie
the
called Border that came out, I think, in the 90s.
mm,
And I think the Air Force came in and saved the day. So I
yeah.
completely get what you're saying.
So that's the third one, right? So now the last frontier is the space. So in for all this to work, you need the satellite. You take down the satellite, the entire country goes crippled.
Sure.
Yeah. So even what do you call F-35s, F-16, everything works on the satellite communication. So now they have Space Force to actually defend your satellites, and on top of it, potential war capabilities. So ICBMs is back in the day. Now it's hypersonic missiles. ICBM has to go all the way up and has to come down, so they can actually
It can
shoot
be
it down.
intercepted. Yeah.
Yeah, so they can easily intercept it, but hypersonic just goes this way. So you cannot intercept a hypersonic missile. It's way too quick. You don't have enough of reaction time to intercept a hypersonic.
Right. It almost sounds like quant trading to me. All right.
Yeah.
So we've discussed defense, we've discussed space exploration. What about exploring the rest of the world? Like, why would universe? Pardon me. Like, what are the advantages of exploring, say, planets like Jupiter or Mars?
Two major things. First is, let's say if you're exploring, so there is this Kepler telescope, right? So which actually is identifying life on different what do you call galaxies, or in the same galaxy, different planetary systems. See if we can actually reach there,
Hmm?
because if you, according to Einstein, if you're able to reach speed of light, time stops, right? So
He did
so
not say that.
yeah, if you are able to achieve speed of light, time stops.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew about time dilation. I wasn't sure. Like, time stopping was not something that I was aware of. But all right, maybe
Yeah, well, I'll attach that article for you.
time
And
dilation, right? Like, there's heavy time dilation.
yeah, I understand the time dilation, but if you,
You're saying
let's say,
time stops.
time
That's the
stop
hypothesis.
when you reach speed of light. So if you are traveling at the speed of light, which is impossible, so time stops at that perspective. So when you're traveling,
Okay.
so 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 another thing is, first, actually being able to find life on a different planetary system. And the second is, for mineral exploration. So let's say an asteroid has this, enough gold, and we can actually go, mine some gold on an asteroid. Like if you look at, asteroid mining is one of the major things. There are actually companies in Silicon Valley which are actually trying to do asteroid mining. So that is another major thing. Let's say you have an asteroid and you want to go mine gold, and if it's a commercially viable, project, it's totally possible.
Just so everybody knows, gold has not originated on Earth. Gold
Yeah.
came to Earth from an asteroid. So yeah, that would be fascinating.
I mean, the exploration can also lead to new
Elements.
complete and new elements which can be put on the periodic table, which don't exist
So
on
fun.
Earth. Yeah.
So fun. Yeah.
So that's
even
another
the lunar
major
mission,
thing.
the lunar mission, people were talking about how we could use with respect to the Chandrayaan, and how Chandrayaan 3's rover landed in the South Pole. There were conversations about how you could have hydrogen and oxygen. Like if we discovered water that could be used to, the hydrogen and oxygen could be used to create fuel to further launch exploratory missions from the moon to the rest of the universe.
Yeah, so if
Then
you have water already on that planet, all you have to go, just make sure you have everything. You go there, refill water, and split it, and from there you can come back to Earth. So you don't have to carry the payload; doesn't have to be too much from Earth itself. So a similar thing, what SpaceX is doing, it reuses its rockets, right? So you can just go fill it up with water, split it, and refuel your fuel and come back.
right. I was also thinking that with respect to solar probes, I forget the name of this one probe, but it moved in to the Kronos level of the sun. The sun has three layers. What are the three layers? The chronosphere? I forget. That's embarrassing. Sun's layers. The photosphere, the chronosphere, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the photosphere is the surface of the sun. The chromosphere is the chromosphere is the middle layer, and the corona is the outer layer. And what science has not been able to explain just yet is how the corona is much, much hotter, like 500,000 degrees centigrade, than the photosphere, which is just about 3,000 Kelvin, 3,000 centigrade or so, degrees centigrade or so.
Yeah.
They're using water to cool down specific aspects of this probe, like there are instances where the photovoltaic cells that absorb solar energy, considering that it is close to the corona or within the corona, those voltaic cells would burn. Is why they decided to make sure that it would be shielded for the most part, and they just have the smallest bits sticking out, and these bits are cooled using water. So I can't imagine the sort of thought. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, a lot of people, what they don't know, I think they know too, is the solar panels are actually work with the light and not the heat.
Yeah.
So the more the light, it's better for you, but also the heat destroys the panel. So I think what I'm adding on to your point is water actually has to cool down the heat for the light to penetrate and give the energy for the probe itself.
Right. So who knows? Like whatever we discover in the galaxies, in our universe, might help us further space exploration in general.
I mean, space exploration. Think about this idea, right? So, if we just stepping back towards the war perspective, so let's say you have, let's say you have a space station or a satellite, right? And the satellite moves into the enemy territory and just launches a projectile at a very high speed. That is way more powerful than 10 nuclear bombs. So, and that doesn't, you won't even know, there won't be any explosion. It's just pure energy. You can literally destroy an entire island with just projectile speed.
I don't know what to say.
I mean, that's a military perspective. So just to protect yourself, every country, have to protect themselves from,
So we're protecting ourselves using deterrence. We aren't protecting ourselves by setting up defense per se. Like defense isn't defense. Defense is actually counter offense.
Yeah.
It's ironic, I guess. Like
I disagree partly on that. So if you look at it, defense can be defense because if you bring in on drones, right? They are laser point. There is actually American Department of Defense actually developing lasers to disintegrate the drone systems. So if the drone actually flies on your airspace, the laser can take it down because sometimes you cannot even these drones can go up to like 50,000 feet where you cannot even target a missile. You cannot lock the missile on it and just self lock it and send it in because it can evade it. But a laser, you cannot evade a laser.
I will take your word for it. There was this YouTube video that I saw recently about how there was a drone that was piloted by a human being and a drone piloted by AI, and AI did not know the map of the field that it was going to have to traverse through. The AI bought one. So sure, you could have your lasers, but I don't know how good AI is or how good AI is going to be with respect to navigating drones. If you could create a shield, a force field of sorts that could protect the country, that would be fantastic. Why I was talking about
like Harry Potter.
Yeah, you could say that. Deathly Hallows, you had that force field. I was thinking when we were talking about defense being counter offense, I guess there isn't much choice there, right? Like you had the shield, which was primarily used as defense, and the spear or a sword that was primarily used for the offensive. Today you have missiles. Everything's largely missiles. You don't invest as much in shields because it's basically like you have deterrence, right? Like I have nuclear power, you have nuclear power, therefore you are unlikely to attack me because I might launch my missiles. That's the argument with North Korea as well, right? And there is a basis for white blood cells as well. Like white blood cells, it isn't white blood cells within your body. They don't act as, they are your defense mechanism, but they go and try and kill foreign bodies. That's the point of it.
To counter your argument, what about the Iron Dome of Israel? That is totally defense.
I was talking predominantly around the world. Like most of it is counteroffensive.
Yeah, of course. Most of it, you basically go take over and just slaughter everything up.
Yeah, I mean, you could say nuclear bunkers are also defensive. There is no counteroffense there, but you're not spending billions of dollars every year on shields. You're spending them on missiles and helicopters and.
I agree. So, I mean, if we come back to what's your perspective on scientific, exploration with space?
I think a certain sector is going to continue to explore it. Like NASA, I believe, I forget the countries in the Artemis Accord. Let me look that up really quick. There are a set of countries that are going to be moving forward with sharing information, but then I think people care about it primarily because it's in the news right now. It's going to die out. It's not like people are going to be space obsessed. unless you are talking about individuals that TikTok, I mean, the TikTok incentives of where they're incentivizing, or TikTok's equivalent in China incentivizing Chinese kids to work on becoming astronauts, whereas you're going to have a dance obsessed race on the other side of the world. I think that space exploration is important, but it's not going to make it's not going to make a lot of headway anytime soon.
I have like this pipe dream. What if we find a room temperature superconductor in space exploration? So the one they tried to imitate, LK99. Something like that. If we're able to find something like a superconductor or we're able to our research with space research lead to something like a room temperature and room pressure, like normal atmospheric pressure superconductor, that'll be like a game changer.
I agree with the principle of semiconductors to begin with. I know you're talking about superconductors, and that is entirely different. There is the principle of electron doping. I don't know whether that is necessarily going to be something that we can find in outer space. But yeah, fingers crossed.
No. I'm not saying outer space. Like that is one part, and you have
a consequence of innovation for space
exactly.
exploration. All right, I understand.
More like it is deduced to civilian use.
Maybe like accidents have helped us tremendously over the several years.
Penicillin was an accident, bro.
What was it about exactly? I was thinking Viagra, honestly, because
I'm talking, the penicillin was created by an accident. It was so the guy who created penicillin, the antibiotic. So he left his lab, and he comes back, and next day the entire bacteria dies because the fungus is eating it up. And that's what's called penicillin notatum. So that's where it comes from, penicillin. So it was an accident. So a lot of stuff can be created through accident. So
all right, that's an interesting pipe dream. So long as this accident doesn't kill the human race, we are good.
Hopefully not.
All right. So
closing thoughts.
I'm going to leave that to you. You're clearly better researched on this than I am. Go for it.
Closing, I would just say, I would say tech, especially like tech perspective, space exploration gonna bring back a lot of stuff back for us. Just if you look at India is doing space missions way cheaper, like pennies on the dollar compared to what America is doing. So the money perspective is also going to help out.
See, when you say money, that's a very, very loaded statement, considering there are conversations about 85% of the world's population dropping the US dollar. You don't know what the value of that currency is going to be. So sure, considering present value.
In the short term, like I would say, for example, India's Chandrayaan costed less than Interstellar. So which is way, it is even Elon Musk comes down, the guy who actually created reusable rockets, that guy comes down and says, oh my God, this is actually way cheaper. And India is able to reach and able to do these space missions and on pennies on a dollar. So which is, which also brings into the perspective that we can bring in, like space tourism way cheaper than other companies, like India itself.
Perhaps I See, it brings to mind a few things. One is the value of the INR versus dollar, the the per capita income here, how much you need to pay for expertise, for a certain level of expertise here in India versus abroad. That that differentiator in itself is going to be massive.
You're
Second, I
talking
would
about
say that
parity.
I'm talking about purchase power parity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes a huge difference. I understand expertise is expertise at the end of the day, but then while Elon Musk has made reusable rockets, he's not the only person who has reusable rocket technology today. You have
Mm.
you have people pioneering new sorts of launches, as an example. That there's one company that's working on launching rockets through not through the
Oh,
propulsion
the
system that currently
circle.
exists.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
speed it up and just take off.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
forgot that. Yeah, projectile rockets. Yeah.
You have that. You have new forms of reusable landing systems being invented. I think those innovations are things that are going to really drive the conversation forward.
Remember we had this
Purchase power
conversation
parity.
when we said, what if we have rockets like bullets? You just shoot a rocket up, you know? Like,
I don't know what to say.
I think we had this convo a long time ago, man. I don't know if you remember it, but we had this convo. What if you design a rocket, put it in like a gun, and just shoot it up, and it'll have enough velocity to have like escape velocity.
Spin launch.
Yeah,
What we were
spin launch.
trying to
Yeah,
talk about was spin launch.
yeah. That's the projectile which takes off. That's the same concept. Like what they have is the similar concept. So what they're trying to do is to overcome the escape velocity, right? So we are trying to do my idea. I think we discussed it previously. I don't know if you remember, but then it's just put the rocket in a gun and shoot it. So it had the same amount of escape velocity to leave the gravitational force of the Earth.
Okay, Einstein.
Just a little bit,
Shoot a rocket.
closing thoughts. Well,
I've heard of, they use or planet orbits to slingshot satellites. I know we discussed that. But a gun, all right, cool. Thank you for thank you for attending a very strange episode. And we'll see you on
well,
the next one.
thank you everybody.
Bye.